If I bless this union, someone will die before dawn. Pastor Thabo snaps his Bible shut. The lights dip, the generator coughs, and the choir's hum wobbles in the rafters. Naledi glides into the aisle, lace catching the glow. Lutando smiles for the cameras, but his eyes jerk to the last pew. Pupils pin, jaw locks. He knows that man. He's not looking at his bride. Stop! Phones freeze mid-air. Close the doors. It's 11:12 a.m. 10 minutes to bless a joy, or sign a curse in public. Rewind 12 hours. A favor with strings, an oath etched into a ring, and a white box waiting at a door. The organ falls quiet, a single note hanging in the air like a held breath. Ushers hesitate. A flower girl grips her basket. The air isn't just cool from the aircon, it feels thinner, as if the room lost a layer of safety. If you've ever felt a room change without a sound, you know this feeling. Smiles hold, but eyes tell the truth first. Naledi keeps walking by reflex. Her veil floats on the generator's draft. Luthando's face stays arranged for the photos, but that tiny glance to the back row has already betrayed him. Most people look at their future. He looked at his past. Brother Kagiso appears at the pastor's shoulder, reading the room the way security men do. The side doors click shut. A guest whispers, "Load shedding again?" Another answers, "No, man, this is different." Mama Tondi squeezes her purse so hard the leather creaks. She's seen this expression once before, on the day her husband never came home. Pastor Tabo's voice is steady. "My children, give us a moment. No drama, no shouting, just a shepherd guarding his altar." He scans the back pews. A figure lowers his cap, shifts his weight, vanishes into the blur of faces. Lutando swallows. Naledi stops 3 pews from the front. The aisle becomes a line no one wants to cross. If you were standing here, you'd notice the small things. How the choir's pitch sits a touch flat. How 3 phones stop recording at once. How the wall clock's second hand seems louder. Pressure has a sound when a secret enters a holy room, and secrets always try to hide where vows are spoken. Why did your eyes find the back row before your bride? Pastor Tabo doesn't ask to embarrass him, he asks to save him. Lutando opens his mouth, then closes it. 1 heartbeat. 2. He glances at Naledi, then at the floor. The silence is a verdict by itself. He lifts the mic a fraction, then lowers it. "Not here," he says softly. "Not like this." He steps down from the altar, and the aisle widens as if making room for truth. Kagiso nods to the ushers. The choir looks to their leader, waiting for a cue that never comes. Summary of what you're stepping into. This is the moment a pastor halts a wedding in Midrand because one glance exposes a buried pact. In the next minutes we'll rewind to the quiet favors that came with strings, the oath word etched inside a ring that no one could explain, and the white box left at a threshold with a ribbon that wasn't a blessing. We'll follow how a single look can collapse a perfect day, and why protecting an altar sometimes means disappointing a crowd. If you've ever ignored a small red flag because the moment was too beautiful to question, this story will feel uncomfortably familiar and necessary. "Please," Pastor Tabo says, eyes on the couple. Naledi caught between relief and fear. Lutando's smile finally drops. He glances one last time toward the back pew, but the man he looked for isn't there anymore. The doors seal with a soft thud. The choir's last note fades into the rafters. Somewhere outside, a generator settles into a low, steady growl. Inside, the room holds its breath. 10 minutes to tell the truth or throw a blessing over a curse in front of everyone. Rewind 12 hours to the favor that wasn't free, to the ring that carried a word from the West Rand, to the box on a doorstep that looked like a gift and felt like a door. By sunrise, nothing felt wrong. That's how perfect days hide their secrets. Johannesburg winter air was clean, the sky a pale blue sheet. In Midrand, the church staff straightened chairs and tucked white roses into vases. Someone joked about load-shedding schedules, and someone else waved it off. Not today. Strings rehearsed a soft hymn. The aisle shone like a promise. Lutando arrived early, suit crisp, smile easy. He greeted uncles, took photos with cousins, sent a text to his mother. "All set, Ma?" He kept moving, because stillness lets thoughts catch up. Outside, a man in a cap paused by the gate. Lutando's throat tightened, then he blinked it away. Not now, not on his wedding day. Mama Thandi pushed a tissue into her purse and checked the program again. The photo of her late husband sat inside, a young man in a brown suit with eyes that laughed. She touched the page and whispered a simple prayer. "Keep my boy." It wasn't long or loud, but years of grief give players a weight that can fill a room. Inside, decor shimmered. White chairs, gold trim, a backdrop that looked like a cloud. You could take 100 pictures here, and every one would be perfect. The choir warmed up, isiZulu and English braided together. Ushers polished the glass doors, then watched their reflections and nodded. It felt like a day no one would forget, for all the right reasons. Pastor Thabo walked the aisle alone before anyone sat. He does this every wedding. He touches the pulpit once, whispers a blessing for clean motives and clear minds. He's learned to trust small shifts, a sudden draft where windows are closed, a note in a singer's voice that slides off-center, a laugh that comes too loud at the wrong time. Not everything is spiritual warfare, but sometimes it is. At 10:35 a.m., the first guests filled the front pews. At 10:42, the generator tested and settled. "Stage 2 only," someone said with relief. At 10:51, the groom stepped into position with his best men. If you watched closely, you'd see his hand touch his ring finger, then fall away. That's the thing about nerves. They travel to the smallest gestures. Outside, the bridal car pulled up. Naledi inhaled slowly, then smiled. She looked like a good promise, not the kind bought with money, the kind fought for through nights and exams and double shifts at the hospital. Her auntie adjusted the veil and kissed her forehead. "Today, my child." Naledi believed it. She wanted to. Inside, a flower girl took 3 steps, forgot, then remembered she was supposed to sprinkle petals. The aisle accepted them like quiet stars. Someone whispered, "Habel, she's so cute," and the room softened. Music rose, the doors opened, and for a moment everyone breathed as if this was all life would ever be, soft light and shared joy. Then 2 things happened at once. The lights dipped, just a touch, the way they do when the city holds its breath, and the groom's smile held while his eyes moved off script, not to the bride, to the last pew. Only for a second, but in that second, his pupils pinched, his jaw hardened, and his shoulders squared like a man bracing for a wave. If you've ever read a loved one's face in a crisis, you know how much fits into a blink. Pastor Thabo saw it and stopped counting time by minutes. He counted by tells, the angle of the head tilt, the way Lutando pressed his tongue against his teeth, the guilt that crossed his face and vanished. This wasn't wedding day nerves. This was recognition, and recognition is a door. Mama Thandi felt the air change without knowing why. Fear can teach a mother a language that doesn't need words. Her left hand found the pendant in her purse and closed around it. A memory floated up uninvited. A phone call years ago. A crash report delivered politely. Her world folding in on itself in the middle of a Sunday. She breathed slow until the feeling passed. It didn't. There's an insight people learn the hard way. Beautiful moments can pressure you to ignore small warnings. It's easier to move with the crowd than to pause for truth. It's easier to smile than to ask, "What did I just see?" But wisdom often sounds like a quiet question at the worst possible time. A man in the last pew lowered his cap. The generator hummed. The choir stretched a vowel a fraction too long. Lutando blinked and looked back to Naledi like nothing had happened. But something had, and you can't unsee it once the room shows you. Summary before we follow them behind the door. Weddings are public joy and private pressure. In the morning's soft light, every detail looked right. Decor, music, family. But small signals stacked up. A man lingering by the gate. A groom's hand tapping where a ring would sit. A brief flicker in the lights, and a glance that chose the past over the future. If you've ever felt a subtle wrongness on a day everyone expected you to smile, you know the conflict that just entered the room. What's coming isn't about bad people in good clothes. It's about a hidden promise walking into a holy moment. The aisle paused because one man saw enough. "Stop," said the pastor, and the room obeyed. He stepped down from the pulpit, eyes steady, voice low. "Give us a moment." He turned, held the vestry door open, and waited for the couple to cross the threshold. Lutando hesitated, just one heartbeat too long. Naledi's veil whispered as she passed. The door closed with a soft click that sounded louder than a shout. Inside that room, breath becomes evidence. Ready for what truth does when you let it in? The vestry door closes. Silence gathers like fog. You can hear breath. You can hear the wall clock. Naledi's right hand trembles, a small flutter at the wrist she tries to hide in her veil. Pastor Thabo sets his Bible on the table and doesn't sit. "This room is for truth," he says quietly, "not performance. If we pause a ceremony, it is to save 2 lives, not shame them. Look at me." Luthando nods, jaw tight. "Who did you look at in the last pew?" the pastor asks. "No one," Luthando says, too fast. "Try again," the pastor replies. A beat passes. Luthando exhales through his nose. "An old contact. He came to wish me well." "Name?" Luthando's eyes drop to the carpet. "He helped me once. I owe him a conversation." The admission hangs like a crack in glass. Pastor Thabo turns to Naledi. "My daughter, place your right hand on the word." She hesitates, a heartbeat too long, then rests her palm on the Bible. The pastor places his hand over hers. "Lord, if there is any shadow here, bring it to light. If there is any knot tied in secret, untie it now." The lights flicker. The generator hum deepens. Naledi swallows. "Pastor, I don't like this drama," she whispers. "People are waiting." "People can wait," he says, eyes gentle but firm. "Covenants cannot. Who sent favor for this wedding? Not help, but favor with strings. Who insisted on vendors, dates, or guests?" "Auntie only wanted things to be beautiful," the lady says. "She covered decor, cake, little things. She just helped." "Help or control?" The lady's eyes shine. "She said I should not worry, that certain things must be done a certain way. She wanted today. She said today is blessed." "Did she ask you to receive anything special after the vows?" Nalady's breath catches. A small white box, a surprise for the night. She said it's a family tradition. The pastor nods once, absorbing it. He turns back to Luthando. What word is engraved inside that ring you keep touching? He flinches, instinctively covering the simple band on his right hand. It's nothing. Read it. He twists the ring, eyes avoiding hers. Beskerm. His voice is low. It means protect. The pastor studies his face. Who promised that protection? His throat works. Pastor, he stops. The clock ticks twice. Look at me, the pastor says, softer. Love doesn't need lies to survive. People hide things to protect those they love, but secrets poison what they're trying to save. If you keep quiet to spare her feelings, you are not sparing her. You are signing her into a fight she didn't choose. Nalady turns to him, voice small. Lou, what is he asking you? He can't hold her eyes. I will explain, he says, just not here. Here is where it matters, Pastor Thabo answers. Altars hear what people won't say. The room thins, like the air is listening. The pastor nods to Nalady's hand again. One more time. She places her palm on the Bible. He prays, shorter now, sharper. Every hidden plan, scatter. Every strange agreement, break. Nalady pulls her hand back as if the leather was hot, fingers shaking. I'm fine, she says, but her voice betrays her. Here is what you're seeing in plain sight. A groom holding a debt to an old protector he hoped to bury under vows, and a bride pressed by a guardian who funds beauty but demands obedience. The pastor isn't chasing ghosts, he's reading pressure. You can love someone and still bring danger to their door if you keep quiet to keep peace. Weddings hide this well. Music, flowers, the crowd's hope. But covenants don't care about detour. They care about truth. If you have ever swallowed a hard sentence to avoid spoiling a perfect moment, you know exactly how this room feels. A soft knock breaks the stillness. Brother Kagiso cracks the door, voice low. Sorry, Pastor, the sisters found something in the bridal room. Small handbag, hidden deep under the vanity, pushed far back. Whose? Looks like the bride's. Backup bag. Do you want it here? The pastor holds Luthando's gaze, then Nalady's. Yes, bring it, quietly. Lock the side corridor. Kagiso nods and disappears. Nalady closes her eyes. Please, she says, barely above a whisper, can we just finish the vows? Pastor Thabo's reply is gentle and immovable. We will finish what God can bless. Footsteps approach. A zipper will open in the next breath, and what spills out will decide if this wedding goes forward, or if a blessing would have covered a curse. He didn't buy love, he bought safety, and safety always takes payment. Luthando keeps his eyes on the floor. Words arrive like stones he has to lift. It was the West Rand, Krugersdorp side. I was 26. My dad had just gone. The contracts we lived on were slipping. People said there's a man who helps when things are tight. Not a bribe, protection. You sign, you're covered. Beskerm, they said, protect. Pastor Thabo waits. No rush. Where? By a mine fence, near a container yard. Dusk. He came in a white bakkie, diesel smell. He spoke mostly Afrikaans, some Zulu. He asked me 3 questions. Do you want to win? Do you want to be safe? Will you remember who kept you safe? I said yes to all 3. Nalady's fingers knot in her veil. Lou, he gave me a ring, right-hand ring. Inside was one word, Beskerm.
He put it on me like a joke. "You're under us now," he said. "When we call, you answer. When we ask, you deliver. Until then, enjoy your protection." "How did the contracts change?" the pastor asks. Luthando swallows. "Calls started returning. Doors opened. People who ignored me started inviting me. Deliveries were on time. I told myself it was hustle, not them. I stopped going to their meetings. I thought if I kept my head down, I'd owe nothing but a thank you." "And the man in the last pew?" Tabo asks. "Same jaw, same scar above the ear. He was there the night I said yes. He's here to collect, or to remind me that yes is a long word." Silence sits with them. The clock ticks, once, twice. "You tried to bury an agreement inside a covenant," the pastor says, not scolding, just naming. "Agreements speak, whether we acknowledge them or not. That ring has been saying a sentence over your life, and today it walked into a holy moment to finish the paragraph." Lutando's shoulders sag. "I took it off last year. I put it in a drawer, but on tough days I wore it for luck. Today I left it at home. I didn't want it near the vows." "The vow is not afraid of luck. It is afraid of lies. You did not want it near the vows because you know it does not belong in them." Naledi wipes her cheek. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I didn't want to bring that dirt into our home. I thought I could outrun it." There's a quiet truth people don't say out loud. Desperate seasons make bad advisors look like lifelines. When bills are due and grief is fresh, anything that looks like safety feels like mercy. But safety that requires silence is not safety. It is a leash. If you've ever told yourself, "I'll fix it later, after the big day," you know how this trap closes without a sound. "Did you sign anything?" the pastor asks. "A page with my name. A prayer that wasn't a prayer. Words in a language I didn't understand. He cut my palm. Small cut. He said it seals things. I told myself it was culture. I washed it off. Blood remembers. So do elders." Here's the picture, plain. A grieving son reached for protection when doors were closing. A fixer offered cover with a word that felt harmless and a ring that felt like luck. The calls returned, the work came, and a young man convinced himself he owed nothing but gratitude. But agreements do not expire when we stop attending meetings. They mature interest in the dark. That's why a face in the last pew could freeze a wedding. He wasn't looking at a stranger. He was looking at a contract with shoes. The heart means well, the paper does not care. And a marriage covenant cannot carry a secret covenant without buckling. Luthando's phone buzzes on the table. No name on the screen, just a symbol, a tiny hammer and pickaxe emoji. He stares at it like it can bite. "Answer on speaker," Pastor Tabo says. Luthando hesitates. "If I pick up, I'm back in. If you don't pick up, they will talk to you at the altar when your yes should belong to one person." The phone keeps vibrating, steady as a heartbeat. Footsteps approach the door. Kagiso returns, hand on a small handbag, zip half open. "Found it," he says quietly. "Push deep under the vanity, white box inside." The call buzzes one last time, then stops. A message pops up. "Congratulations. Tonight, 7. Kagiso sets the small handbag on the desk. The zip teeth glint. The room holds its breath. He pulls slowly. Fabric sighs. On top, compact, powder brush, a travel perfume, a packet of tissues. Ordinary things make people relax. That's why they sit on top.
Deeper in the bag, his fingers find a white box, palm-sized, tied with a red ribbon. No card, no name. The ribbon is the expensive kind, smooth, heavy, meant to feel like love. Naledi stares at it like it's both comfort and threat. "Open the box," Pastor Tabo says. Kagiso slides the ribbon free. Inside, a neat fruitcake, tiny, dense, sealed in clear wrap. One corner bears a sugar plaque stamped with a single word, "Tonight." "Who gave you this?" the pastor asks. "My auntie," Naledi answers, voice thin. "She said it's tradition, a sweetness to start the night." Kagiso places the box aside gently, as if it could bruise. He fishes deeper in the bag and brings up a phone wrapped in a facecloth. Black, old model, no case, 2 buttons scuffed. "Not my phone," Naledi says quickly. The screen wakes to a blank home. 4 contacts, no names, just symbols, a red dot, a pickaxe, the number 7, and a crown. The message thread under the pickaxe icon is short, 3 lines. Confirmed. Wedding holds. Tonight, 7. Lutando flinches, the same symbol that just flashed on his own screen. His past is speaking to his present in a language of icons. Kagiso finds a brown envelope tucked flat against the lining. No stamp, no creases. He hands it to the pastor. The glue gives with a soft crack. Inside, a typed letter on thick paper, a photocopy of an ID, and a draft addressed "To whom it may concern." The pastor reads aloud, steady. "It is with deep sorrow that I inform you of the passing of my husband, Mr. Lutando Maseko, on the evening of—" The date field is blank. "Please find attached documents to aid efficient processing with the bank and our family attorney. I will make myself available to sign any necessary paperwork. Sincerely, Mrs. Naledi Maseko." Naledi shakes her head hard. "I didn't write that. I didn't." The signature is neat. It looks like hers. "There's also a receipts folder." Kagiso holds up a slim file. On top sits an invoice from Radebe Bridal Atelier, Parkview, paid in cash. A second slip reads, "Event liaison fee, KR," in pencil. A phone number sits under it. No name. The pastor lays every item in a clean line. Cake, phone, envelope, receipts. None of them shout. Paper rarely shouts. Paper whispers in straight lines. It tells the story feelings try to hide. If you have ever convinced yourself a gift is just kindness, because questioning it would make you look ungrateful, you know how easy it is to miss the cost printed in small type. Why would there be a condolence letter prepared before the vows? The pastor asks, eyes still on the page. Naledi is crying now. "Auntie said people like to be ready. She said I mustn't worry about documents. She said love needs planning." "Love needs truth," he answers, not unkind. "Planning without truth is a plan for something else." The burner phone buzzes once. A new message appears under the crown icon. 1 line only. "W.S. Garden, 1400 hours. Come alone." Kagiso looks at the time. 11:19 a.m. "Walter Sisulu? Falls?" The pastor nods, almost to himself. They don't trust phones for real conversations. They trust noise and water. He turns to Lutando. "Your ring, at home?" He nods. "Your phone, the pickaxe sender?" He nods again, smaller.
After we secure the altar, we go to the water. First we close doors, then we follow leads. Here's what just sat on this table, in order and in plain sight. A cake with a message that fixes a time, not a blessing. A burner phone with 4 symbols and a meeting set for the same day. A condolence letter prepared ahead of a vow, signed with a name she hasn't legally taken, and receipts that tie favors to a specific studio and a set of initials. Feelings can be confused, paper is not. The evidence doesn't prove love is fake, it proves a plan exists around it. Plans like these work because they hide under normal. Cake is normal. Help is normal. A friend in the back pew is normal. But when normal comes with secrecy, times, and drafts for grief, it stops being normal. It becomes a script. The pastor gathers the items into a brown box, seals it with tape, and hands it to Kagiso. Office, locked, called Captain Nkosi. Naledi wipes her face with the edge of her veil. Please, she whispers, believe me. Believing you means protecting you from this. The burner phone buzzes again. 2 words, no symbols this time. Change venue.
The waterfall swallows voices. That's why he chose this place. Under Whitporchy Falls, words have to fight to be heard. Pastor Tabo arrives first with Kagiso in plain clothes. A quick prayer at the gate. We don't come in pride, we come in obedience. Captain Nkosi waits out of sight near the path, phone off, eyes scanning the benches. A man in a gray beanie sits with his back to the rail, thin jacket, scab on his knuckles. Taps, he says, without turning. Don't use my real name. He nods at the spray. Good cover. Phones don't listen here. Kagiso says, keeping a step to the side. Taps glances once at the path and lowers his voice. The message that said, W.S. Garden, 1400, come alone, that wasn't for you. It was for her. I sent it to the burner because she shares phones. If she came, they'd watch her. You came instead. Brave or foolish? Both, Pastor Tabo says. What do they want tonight at 7? A seal, a sweet thing that opens a door. They call it cake. It's not always poison. Sometimes it's a mark. You sleep, you wake with a yes you didn't mean. Sometimes you don't wake. He pulls a folded paper from his sock, grease-stained, soft from sweat. A rough map sketched in biro. See this line? N14, then R563, Heekport side. 2 blue drums at a farm gate. Dirt road past a wind pump. Up the ridge, there's a flat place between rocks. Stone table, 12 chairs. They meet there on dark moon or when a union matters. Who leads? Captain Nkosi asks. Taps flinches, then relaxes when he sees no uniform. A woman, he says. Kenelue. People call her Madam K. She doesn't show her face at the ridge. Her men do. They keep a mixing place in City Deep behind the coal rooms. Night work, charms, papers, phones. Deliveries come from Parkview studio. They like quiet streets and generators humming. What do the symbols mean? Pickaxe, crown, red dot, 7. Tap scratches his jaw. Pickaxe is West Rand muscle. Crown is the woman. Red dot means urgent, move now. 7 is not a number, is tonight, after vows. They like 7s. Captain Nkosi takes the map, eyes tracing landmarks. Roots? Bears Noddy for shadows, Zansprout to cut eyes, then Krugersdorp side. Watchers use a red scarf to signal clean path. He shifts on the bench. Don't follow straight. They smell tailing. He risks a look at the upper path. A woman in a red scarf feeds birds, not looking at them, not looking away.
Tap swallows. She's not mine, but someone always comes to listen. Pastor Tabo keeps his tone even. Why are you talking now? Tap stares at the water. Because my friend went missing after one last job? Because the woman asked for a nurse, pretty, obedient? Because the list is long and no one believes how ordinary this looks? He rubs his hands. I don't hate God. I hate fear. It keeps us quiet, and quiet keeps them rich. There's a cost to speaking that people feel in their bones. Your body knows what your mouth risks. That's why whistleblowers shake. That's why meetings happen near noise. If you ever wanted to tell the truth and found your throat too tight to do it, you know the tax this man is paying to talk in daylight. Protection, Tap says, finally looking at the pastor. If you give me the city deep door, you don't leave me hanging. Captain Nkosi nods. You'll be moved tonight. New sim, new place. But if you lie, I can't protect you from them or from me. He points to a block on the paper. Slaughterhouse Lane, back bungalow, black curtains. Door code knocks 2, then 3. Thursday nights, candles, ledgers with initials, not names. The spray thickens. Phones buzz in pockets, then die under the mist. Kagiso tilts his head toward the path. The woman in the red scarf stands, tosses the last crumbs, and doesn't look back. Summary before we leave the water. Taps just drew a straight line from Parkview favors to city deep cold rooms and up a hidden ridge above Heatport. He decoded the symbols, pickaxe for muscle, crown for the handler, 7 for tonight, and fixed the clock. He gave a door knock and a room that keeps ledgers in code. He won't name the big one, but he gave enough to move. The price he asked is simple. Don't leave him exposed. The fear in his eyes says many have been. Leave first, the pastor says. We'll walk second. Taps folds the map into Captain Nkosi's hand. If you go up that ridge, he says, voice barely there. Don't go loud and don't go alone. A camera clicks from the upper path. Just one. Then silence. The red scarf is gone. The ridge is waiting.
Cold wind skims the ridge. Breath ghosts in torchlight. Oil beads on a smooth stone like dew that refuses to freeze. They go in quiet. No sirens. No headlights on the last bend. Kagiso kills the engine and pockets the keys. Pastor Tabo, Elder Ruth, and Kagiso shoulder small packs, Bible, oil, 2 torches, 1 blanket. The night smells of dust and winter grass. Somewhere below, a farm dog barks once and goes silent. Stay close, Tabo says. No talking, only prayer. They climbed by the map Taps drew, counting fence posts, passing the wind pump, turning where the path narrows between thorn. The city's glows a bruise on the horizon. Up here, the dark has room to think. The clearing appears suddenly between 2 shoulders of rock. In the center, a stone table sits thigh-high, polished by years of hands and weather. Around it, 12 chairs fashioned from rough blocks. Wax runs like pale veins down their sides. Ash carpets the ground in a shallow ring. Kagiso sweeps the beam low. Symbols ripple across the dust. Circles with teeth. Triangles inside circles. Lines that refuse to meet. A strip of red cloth clings to a thorn. A page from a Bible lies half-buried, torn across the words covenant and blood. Elder Ruth steps forward first. She pours a thin line of oil across the stone. It glows in the torch beam, a small river where no river should be. We don't come in pride, she says softly. We come in obedience. Lord, light what we cannot see. The wind answers before any voice does. It presses told against their backs, then shifts. The chairs creak, wood that is actually stone, protesting old work. A laugh comes from the trees, too soft to be close, too clear to be far. In the name of Jesus, Tabo says, palm flat on the table. Every agreement written here without God's mercy, break. Every power that fed on fear and blood, dry up. Every watcher, lose your sight. Kagiso keeps his light on the bush line. He sees breath where no animal stands, a pale bloom against darker leaves. A pebble clicks down the slope. He points, but doesn't speak. Elder Ruth circles the table, oiling the carved edges. Her voice is steady as midnight. We shut the gate you opened with lies. We return every debt written in hidden ink. We pour truth where you poured terror. The wind lifts hard. Ash rises and swirls. Wax nubs roll and settle. A blind moth beats itself against the torch lens, then drops. The stone warms under Tabo's hand, not from flame, but from purpose. What they find here is not a movie prop. It is a working counter of the city, a place where decisions were rehearsed before anyone else felt their weight. Chairs to seat proxies, a table to stage agreements, symbols to call witnesses that don't carry badges. If people gather at altars to bless a home, others gather to bend a street. Cities don't just run on roads and pipes, they run on the promises people make in quiet places. Break the promise, and the pattern that fed on it loses its right to speak. A low voice drifts from the dark. Shia mange, Domine. Another joins it, higher, almost playful. Hamba, this is not your mountain. Tabo does not lift his hand. Every voice that does not come from God, be silent. A torch flickers. The beam jumps, steadies. On the ridge below, 2 pinpricks of light blink twice. Pause, blink once. A signal. Kagiso angles his body between the lights and the pastor. Elder Ruth's last line lands like a gavel. Your season ends here. The oil on the stones smokes, thin as mist. From the trees, a footstep lands on loose shale, then another. Metal nicks stone. The laugh comes again, closer. The air tightens. Back to back, Kagiso whispers. Something moves at the edge of the light and stops just outside it. The bottle rolls across the church tiles. The generator hum thickens. A dark line glistens at the office threshold, slow as a snake. Kagiso is already moving. He turns the corner, light cutting a pale cone through the corridor. A hooded figure jerks upright, startled, then bolts for the back gate. Hey! Kagiso's shoes slap, echo chasing echo. The figure clears the low wall, lands hard, and vanishes into the winter dark. By the time security hits the gate, the street is empty. Only the bottle remains, spinning, then settling near the mat. Pastor Tabo arrives with a cloth in his hand. He doesn't touch the liquid. He wraps the glass, lifts it, studies the smear on the tile. You tried to mark my door, he says to the night. Not today. In the light, the mixture looks thick, almost syrupy, with a grain like ground powder. Bag it, he tells Kagiso. No one steps across this line until we wash it with oil and water. The generator steadies. The corridor breathes again. Fear tries to shrink the room, but instruction pulls it back to size. Seal this wing, Tabo says to Kagiso. Call Captain Nkosi, quietly. Across town, Stage 4 drops a block of Randburg into soft darkness. Mama Tandi lights a candle,
whispers a psalm, and sits with her hands on her lap. The house settles like an old friend. Then a soft sound, paper sliding under a door. She freezes, listens. Another whisper of movement, then silence. She rises, careful. The candle makes the hall walls taller. At the front door, a white envelope waits, narrow and thin. Red ink bleeds through a single line. She doesn't touch it. She calls the pastor. "Don't open. Stay in the passage. Lights on. I'm on my way." Kagiso and a deacon reach the driveway first. Gloves, torch, camera flash. The envelope goes into a clear sleeve without a fingerprint. In the lounge, the pastor reads the line through the plastic. "Ukukuluma kukubulala. Speaking will kill you." Mama's hand trembles on her skirt. "She knows I spoke to you," she says, voice small. "They know I won't keep quiet." "They know you're a mother," he answers gently. "Fear wants you alone. We won't let it." He moves like he's done this before, practical and calm. No food from outside, no visitors. Phone stays on, but answer on speaker if it's unknown. Curtains closed at night. One of ours sleeps on your couch until this is over. He turns to Kagiso. Perimeter checks every hour, random, not scheduled. If the lights cut, double the watch. Later, with a flask of tea warming her palms, her lids grow heavy. Sleep arrives like a soft theft. In the dream, she stands behind her son at a high platform. A crowd cheers, faces bright but flurred. Lutando takes a step back to leave the stage. A hand in a choir robe presses him forward. He stumbles toward a red glow that isn't light, it's heat. She tries to shout, but her voice is trapped behind her teeth. The hand doesn't push hard. It only needs a nudge when the edge is close. She wakes with a sound she's too dignified to call a cry. "It wore a choir robe," she says when the pastor sits beside her again. "Not a stranger, someone close enough to stand on stage." He nods, not surprised. Dreams don't always show faces. Sometimes they show functions. The robe is a role. It narrows the room. What happened tonight is how pressure answers pressure. While the ridge loses its grip, the house is tested. While the pastor's door is marked, a mother is warned to keep quiet. Fear is a divider. It pulls you away from the people who can help you stand. But community makes fear small again. A bottle gets bagged, a note gets read in daylight, a house gets guards, and a dream becomes information instead of terror. If you've ever been bullied into silence, you know how heavy a single sentence can feel, and how quickly it loses power when two more people read it with you. At the church, the threshold is washed, not theatrics, soap, water, oil, and a short prayer. No agreement crosses this line. The smear lifts and disappears down the drain. In the office, Tabo lays the bagged bottle beside the plastic sleeve with the note. Two signatures of the same problem. Two attempts to draw lines without consent. "They watch our patterns," he says. "They know when the generator stumbles and when we go home. They know Mama's street. Someone is feeding them the times." He straightens. "So we change the times and we close the mouths." Kagiso nods. "You want names." "I want all department heads at dawn. No phones inside, gates locked after they enter. No one leaves until we finish. Bring the lists, bring the schedules. We're not hunting shadows, we're looking for a robe that fits." He steps into the corridor. The night presses its ear to the window and hears nothing it can use. Somewhere in the compound, a set of keys jingles, then stills. In the choir loft, a light clicks off a second too late. "Morning," the pastor says, more to himself than to the room. "We'll find who stood close enough to push." Chairs scrape. Doors lock. A metal bowl holds 10 silent phones. Pastor Thabo walks to the whiteboard and writes 3 words in steady strokes. Who knew when? He turns.
No phones, no excuses. We're here to close a door. Sister Boipello sits near the window, hands folded, face calm. A red scarf peeks from her bag. She tucks it deeper without thinking. Roll, the pastor says. Names answered, eyes measured. He stops in front of Boipello. Last night between 9 and 10:30, where were you? At home, she says. Practicing the set list. We have Thanksgiving next week. Which street? Dover. Lights on. We had power. Inverter. Kagiso places a thin printout on the table. Load shedding stage 4. Your block had no power from 2000 to 2230. Tower logs show your sim left Ranberg at 2108. It pinged Selby Tower near City Deep at 2147. Her shoulders stiffen. My niece had my phone. You live alone, Pastor Thabo says kindly. You told us last month. A small crack. She nods once, then shakes her head as if to erase it. Another detail, Kagiso adds. Courier from Parkview described a woman with a red scarf at the junction. He handed over a bundle marked for K.R. Friday. Do you own a red scarf? Many women do. Show me yours. She opens her bag. The scarf is there, slightly damp. A fine powder clings to the fringe, sweet and bitter at once. Kagiso seals it in a clear sleeve without comment. The pastor's voice stays low. What name did you use when you joined this church? Boipello Seabi. And before Krugersdorp? Her lips press. Motswasele. Thank you. He nods to Kagiso. Another page slides forward. Parkview Studio Ledger. A deposit marked B. Seabi. Same number registered to B. Motswasele on an old SIM. Same string paid as liaison fee to KR 3 times in 6 months. Explain. Boipello's breath shakes. It was admin work, bookings, studio stuff, nothing evil. Schedules, set lists, prayer themes, who travels, who stays late, small, reasonable things. She looks up at him, eyes bright. They said it keeps me safe. They said if I don't help, the choir loses work. They said it is just information, not blood. Betrayal rarely begins with blood. It begins with a calendar invite, a favor, a harmless list. If you have ever said yes against your peace to keep a circle happy, you know how fast it goes. Yes goes fast. Will you help us stop them? Pastor Thabo asks. Boipello nods, tears running. I will stand where you put me. I will say what I know. Please do not let them take me. We will not leave you exposed, Captain Nkosi says, but we will walk into that room tonight. Tonight, she repeats, voice barely there. They brought it forward after the ridge. 2200. A woman sits at the end. You will not see her face. Men run the table. There will be a small fridge. Inside are bottles marked with symbols. Crown means the woman. Pickaxe wounds the men. Red dot means move now. 7 means after vows. Names, Nkosi says. I never heard them. Only initials. KR in the ledger. The others are numbers. They call me B. I only carried messages. Who told you to pour at the pastor's door? I never poured. I delivered. A man with a cap came when the lights cut. He said it must be tonight. He left the bottle. I pushed it inside. I swear I could not sleep after. I felt cold. There is a lesson here that never feels dramatic when it starts. People do not wake up and decide to betray a house. They say yes to a small ask, to be helpful, to be included,
to be safe. They forward a schedule. They confirm a start time. They carry a bottle because someone else poured it. Each yes moves a line. Each yes makes the next yes easier. By the time the line is obvious, shame makes the truth feel impossible. If you have ever said yes against your peace to keep a circle happy, you know how fast it goes. Yes goes fast. Will you help us stop them? Pastor Thabo asks. Boipelo nods, tears running. I will stand where you put me. I will say what I know. Please do not let them take me. We will not leave you exposed, Captain Nkosi says, but we will walk into that room tonight. Tonight, she repeats, voice barely there. They brought it forward after the ridge, 2200. A woman sits at the end. You will not see her face. Men run the table. There will be a small fridge. Inside are bottles marked with symbols. Crown means the woman. Pickaxe means the men. Red dot means move now. 7 means after vows. Names, Nkosi says. I never heard them, only initials. KR in the ledger. The others are numbers. They call me B. I only carried messages. Who told you to pour at the pastor's door? I never poured. I delivered. A man with a cap came when the lights cut. He said it must be tonight. He left the bottle. I pushed it inside. I swear I could not sleep after. I felt cold. Cold air leaks when the door swings. Not winter air, cold room air, the kind that makes your breath bite. 2 knocks, then 3. The lock clicks. Captain Nkosi enters first, plain clothes, torch low. Kagiso follows, then Pastor Thabo. No sirens, no uniforms, only steady steps and a prayer under the breath. Black curtains deaden the light. Candles struggle on a small table. 5 people freeze mid-move. 2 women, 3 men. A 6th chair sits at the end, empty, a black shawl folded over its back like a presence that hasn't arrived. Evening, Nkosi says. Hands where we can see them. One man reaches for a bag. Kagiso is on him in 2 strides, pinning the wrist, sliding the bag away. Another man tenses to run. The door behind him opens onto a dead-end passage and a locked gate. He stops. On the table, red powder in a shallow bowl, thin cords, a ledger open to neat columns of initials. Beside it, photographs spread like cards. Lutando's face, Pastor Thabo's face, a 3rd face ringed in red pencil, Mamatandi's. Candles down, Thabo says softly. They gutter and go. No wind, no hands, only a short prayer that feels like a weight placed on a scale. One woman clamps her jaw as if to bite her tongue. Thabo reaches her in time, palm to cheek, words even. No more blood, not in here. She breathes, shakes, and drops her hands. Nkosi nods to the small fridge against the wall. Kagiso opens it. Bottles in rows. Black tape marks the lids. Symbols and white ink. Crown, pickaxe, a single 7, a red dot. The labels match the burner phone. Bag everything, Nkosi says. No spills, no assumptions. Evidence teams move like quiet rain. Gloves, sleeves, paper into plastic, powder into vials. The ledger pages flip, camera catching each line. K.R. appears in the liaison column, again and again, no full name. A schedule sheet lists T7 beside tonight's date, a box ticked. A chair scrapes, the empty one. No one sits. The shawl falls, slow, as if someone stood up. It lands on the floor and folds itself once. And Thabo doesn't flinch. This altar is closed, he says. Every agreement made in fear loses its teeth tonight. A man with a cap stares at the ground.
You don't know her. She is not here. You are arresting shadows. Nkosi's tone stays mild. You'll like the station. Shadows hate fluorescent light. Handcuffs click. Rights are read in calm voices. No one argues. Fear makes people quiet. It also makes them clumsy. In the bin, a scrap of paper shows the door knock pattern, 2, then 3, drawn like a child's note. On the way out, a truck growls past on the main road, masking the shuffle of feet. The cold room smell follows them to the street. City Deep is a quiet maze at this hour. High walls, corrugated doors, a watchdog that only lifts its head and sleeps again. In plain words, the room gave them everything they needed. Bottles marked with the same symbols from the burner phone. A ledger with initials and payments tied to the Parkview studio. Photos that fix targets. A schedule that matches 7 after vows. An empty chair set like a throne with no face. The charges won't need drama. They will need detail. Conspiracy, attempted poisoning, fraud. It's not the stuff of horror films. It's the quiet admin of harm. That's why it hides so well. Evil often looks like ordinary work done at night in borrowed spaces. 1 week later, the church is full. Not for a wedding, for Thanksgiving. The flowers are simpler. The music is softer. People stand closer to each other. Lutando walks to the front with Mama Tandi. He holds the mic like a fragile thing. He says, I almost said yes to a future built on a lie. I almost dragged the woman I love into a fight I started years ago. God stopped me. The pastor stopped me. My mother prayed me back to life. Applause starts, then stills. He's not finished. If you are hiding a small yes that feels harmless, end it now. Don't tie it to your vows and call it love. Pastor Thabo steps up. He doesn't preach long. Not every union is heaven's will, he says. And not every smile means love. Discernment is not suspicion. It is protection. Communities must stay awake. Don't make your pastor your only watchman. Guard your homes. Guard your hearts. We bless what truth builds. We pause what lies try to hurry. People nod. Some cry. Some look down and think. That is good. Thinking is a kind of prayer when it faces truth. After the service, Nkosi meets Thabo in the office. The evidence sits in neat boxes. The ledger sits on top. A yellow tab marks a page. One gap, Nkosi says. Initials KR, but no full name anywhere. And one target list entry without a photo. Only a phone number. It keeps calling. Unknown ID. Same symbol pattern as the burner. The phone on the desk vibrates. No name, just a crown emoji sent as a message. Then a call. It rings. Stops. Rings again. Nkosi's eyes meet Thabo's. We caught a room, she says. Not the woman. The phone rings a third time. Somewhere in Parkview, a chair sits empty. Somewhere on the West Rand, a red scarf moves against a fence. The next door waits.